wrong, we need to tear it apart and figure out why it went wrong, and how do we keep it from happening the next time. Now, that doesn't mean we don't hold people accountable, because that's an important part of what we do as an organization. But at the end of the day, we're not going to sit around pointing fingers and say who did what. We're going to figure out how to not do it again, how to correct what happened, and then we'll deal with the issue of how we got there. We need to strip away the noise and the clutter. There's a lot of stuff out there that distracts us, and if we're not careful, we'll give that all of our attention and fail to focus on what we need to be doing to get our job done. So sometimes that's hard, because there is a lot of noise and there's a lot of clutter out there that we have to deal with. But if we'll understand that that is distracting and that keeps us from attaining our objectives, we'll do a better job at stripping it away. Avoid the doom loom. This little guy gets up every morning, and he probably munches on a little bit of lettuce or something, and he stretches out, and he goes hops in that wheel, and he runs and runs and runs and runs and runs all day long. And at the end of the day, he hops off and goes, gets in the cage, and he has accomplished nothing. We need to be careful to avoid that doom loom, because tomorrow he's going to get up and get in that wheel again, and he's going to run and run and run, and he's not accomplished a thing tomorrow either. So we need to make sure that every day we make progress and we accomplish things that help us attain the vision that the council sets out for us. You know, we're looking for plow horses, not show horses. That show horse is pretty, and he prances around. And rest assured, there is a place for pretty in the city of Destin. You know, we are working to improve our image by doing a number of things to make us look better. So not downplaying the looks of those things around us, but when we're talking about getting things done, I'd rather have the plow horse any day, because he gets up every morning, he smokes, and he's ready to go to work. He puts the yoke on, and off he goes. And the interesting thing about this image is, if you look at that plow horse, it's not even a horse, it's a mule. And he don't care that he's a mule. He just knows he got up this morning to go to work. And in thinking about this, I thought this morning that maybe a better analogy in our setting is that, you know, we don't need showboats, we need tugboats in the city of Destin. We need folks to get out there and move the stuff around. So we go back to Mr. Ford and his comment, but it's worth reading again. If I'd asked people what they wanted, they would have said faster horses. We need to take advantage of momentum. When that flywheel gets moving and things are going well, let's take advantage of it. You know, let's roll with it, and let's keep things moving at the fastest pace we can. Then we'll see things getting done, and we'll make accomplishments. This is important to me in the culture that we live, that we all have a life, and we need to work to make sure that our people have a good work-life balance. If they're not happy at work, we're not going to be happy at home. And if we're not happy at home, we're not going to be happy doing things we need to do at work. We've got some dedicated and committed people, and part of my job is to help develop that culture where folks want to work at the city of Destin. They want to come in every morning. They want to go above and beyond and do the thing. There's a concept out there called organizational citizenship behavior. And it says, I'm going to do something for Jeff today that's not part of my job, but it needs to be done. So Jeff, I'm going to, Thank you, sir. You're welcome. But that's the attitude we need to bring with us every day. And then it makes Jeff's job more pleasant and more willing to go do something for Steve when Steve needs something done. So that's the culture that we're working to develop in the city. And so we encourage our folks to take time to smell the roses, enjoy your life. What we can do to help you enjoy your life, let us know, because we're all in this together. There's some very smart people that have said some things over the years that I like to share. Ken Kesey, if you know anything about him, he grew up in the 50s and the 60s, and he kind of linked the mod group of the 50s to the hippies of the 60s. But he said, you don't lead by pointing and telling people someplace to go. You lead by going to that place and making a case. It's easy to go somewhere and say, y'all come on. But it's a whole lot more difficult to say, y'all come with me because, and we've built a case and we've stated a case and we shared it, and it makes folks want to come along the journey with us. Jim Rohn, a good motivational speaker, educator, entrepreneur, said some things, and I want to apply them to our organization here in the city. we're going to be strong, but we're not going to be rude. We're going to be kind, but we're not going to be weak. We're going to be bold, but we're not going to bully. We're going to be humble, but we're not going to be timid. We're going to be thoughtful, but we're not going to be lazy. We're going to be proud, but we're not going to be arrogant. We're going to have humor, but without folly. We're going to enjoy what we do, and we might make fun of one another, but we're going to do it in a way that we understand that we got work to do, and part of doing that work is making sure we enjoy being here during our time of work. Brian Tracy says it doesn't matter where you're coming from, all that matters is where you're going. We spend a lot of time worrying about where we were yesterday when we need to be concerned about where we're going tomorrow. And in a visioning session, that's what we need to do. Let's look to tomorrow and next week and next month and next year. And let's understand that there are incremental steps along the way to get to what that big picture vision looks like. A couple of my favorites is Thomas Jefferson. He said, in matters of style, swim with the current, but on matters of principle, stand like a rock. And I suggest to you that those principal things are such as honesty, ethics, respect, and transparency. And I think we'll find those in the mission statement for the city and the vision statement for the city, but those are important. I can tell you from a staff level, we're not going to compromise those things. There's no reason to. And if we're going to be the city that we want to be, we want to deliver those world-class services and spaces, we've got to adhere to these. But some things, when he says on matters of style, swim with the current, sometimes we need to give style points and let it go. If it doesn't really matter to us, there's no reason to fight. But when there are principal matters, we're going to stand like a rock. And then good old Abe Lincoln says, be careful where you plant your feet, but once you plant them firmly. And I'll suggest that his quote goes right along with Jefferson's, in that the places we need to plant our feet are on honesty and integrity and principle and ethics and the things that matter, so that we can do the things that are important to the citizens that we serve. My staff has heard me say this, and I'm proud to say it to you guys, in the organization that I lead, and I'm proud to do that, and I thank Council for the opportunity to do it. We have a concept that said there's no big me, little you. It doesn't matter to me where you fall in the organization, you're important to what we do. If you go back to the clock we looked at a little bit ago, everybody in this organization is part of that clock. And that includes the council, that includes the city manager, the senior leaders, and every member of the organization is important. I have stressed to them that I'm available, I'm approachable, my door is open. And I mean that with all sincerity, because everybody needs to be respected, or deserves to be respected. Everybody deserves to be appreciated. Again, we need to hold people accountable to do their jobs, and we'll do that. But we can do that in a professional way. 3 rules and 3 commitments I make to the City Council, and that I've asked our staff to make, is no drama, no surprises, and don't embarrass us. We don't have time for workplace drama. There's plenty going on already. So I'm not real interested in who said what about who on Facebook last night or any of those things. We don't have time for drama. We don't have time for surprises. The last thing a city council member wants is to read in the headline paper tomorrow that their city manager was arrested for whatever it may be. When those things happen, and I'll tell you, if you get a call at 2 o'clock in the morning, it's because we don't want you to be surprised. We want to stay ahead of those things and make sure that we apprise our council of the things that are going on that are important to them before they read it or hear it somewhere else. And sometimes it's hard to get ahead of social media these days, but we'll do our best. And lastly, don't embarrass us. Let's don't go out and be doing silly things that reflect bad on us as individuals and bad on us as a city. So all of this is part of the good to great journey. And I'm proud to be a part of that. And as we move forward, I'll ask you a simple question. Why strive to be great? Why is that important? Why should we work to be great? Mr. Bagg?
It takes just as much energy to be bad.
That's right. So my simple answer is why not? Right along that. We're coming to work every day. We've got jobs to do. So why not take a little more effort if that's what it takes, and strive to be great. So thank you for your attention. I hope that adds a little bit of what we're trying to do here today from our perspective. And again, as we move forward, and we'll hand off to council here in a minute, just want to stress again that today's exercise is for you guys to lay out a vision for us to work on implementing, and letting us do it through our budget and let it through us through our work plans. We don't really need to leave here today thinking we need to go plant 3 trees at Morgan Sports Center, or we need to have a bigger understanding of where we're trying to go as a city and what we want the city to look like over time as we deal with those service and spaces. So that's what I've got for the lead off, and I'm going to hand off to Miss Jamie from our HR department, and she's got some good things to share with you.
Yeah, for some reason, that's the only time people want to hear me talk, is if that's what I'm saying. Good morning, everyone. And for those of you who don't know me, my name is Jamie, and I have been in the role of HR director for the last 2 years with the city of Destin. And in the last 2 years, we've had a considerable amount of change, but also remarkable growth. And as we navigate through the change and continue to grow, it's really important that we take a step back to evaluate our progress to make sure that we are moving in the right direction. So this visioning session is the perfect opportunity to evaluate where we are right now and to reflect on that, to also identify the areas that are in need of improvement and determine what our next steps. So how do we get that information? How do we know what to do? Thank you for asking. So we recently conducted our 2025 employee survey. And something that we should keep in mind whenever we are reviewing this survey is that with employee surveys, there's no such thing as good news or bad news. It's just a clear picture of what we need to maintain and where we need to put resources to grow. So with that, let's get into our survey. Oh, okay, actually, I want to talk about this first slide. So something of note on this slide is, if you notice, we had 80 people participate in the survey out of 110 employees. That is incredible. That's 73% of our employees were invested enough to take time to take the survey. And what that tells me is that we will have that number of people who are invested in having conversations moving forward about things that we need to change. Next one, please. Thank you. Okay, so we had about 40 questions on our survey. So we thought that it would be best to break this down into 5 areas that we can focus on. So those areas of evaluation that were important to us are employee well-being and satisfaction, leadership and trust, communication and employee voice, compensation and career growth, and workplace culture and fairness. To make it even more digestible, I thought a star rating system would be kind of easy to read, so that way everyone can kind of understand where we're at. The 4 stars are a high satisfaction, and then we split the neutral group, so 3 stars are that neutral group that are trending more towards high satisfaction, and then 2 stars is that area of the neutral group that they're kind of really leaning towards low satisfaction, and we need to put some energy and effort into that group as well. The low satisfaction is 1 star, and to make sure it's blaringly obvious, the big red X for the critical dissatisfaction. Spoiler alert, we didn't have any X's. I know you're all worried. So our first category, the employee well-being and satisfaction, and I actually can't see that far, so let me get my. So overall, we had 4 stars, which is incredible. However, the area that we have room for the most improvement is employees feel that the city could do a better job promoting physical and mental well-being. What you should all know is this week and next week, we've been doing small group sessions with employees, so that way we can get their feedback on this. When you're taking a survey, I just really want to know what people are thinking and why they feel that the city isn't promoting their mental well-being. Because if you notice, employees do feel like they have a strong work-life balance. So it's really breaking down those pieces. And at the end of the survey results, we'll kind of give you guys a peek into some things that we're working on to help with these things. Leadership and trust. Overall, we have 3 stars. That is very helpful from our 4-star city manager we have. Employees do feel like they are respected by the new city manager. And department directors, and they do feel like senior leaders create a positive work environment. Where we have some area to grow is employees don't necessarily feel respected and appreciated by the mayor and council. That is something that we have to work together on. Fostering that relationship between the governing body of a city and then the employees who sustain it, that's something that's always going to take work, but I've been saying we can't build a one-way bridge either way. So that's something that we'll be working with council on. Communication and employee voice. Overall, employees are satisfied with that. Where we have room to grow is seeking employee ideas and communication from leadership. Through the small group discussions that we've been having with employees, what I'm finding out is it's not necessarily that the information is not provided, it's that they're not receiving it in a way that they can, I don't want to say digest it, but if we have somebody who doesn't have access to email, email's not the best way to communicate information. So we need to be a little bit more specific in how we communicate with different demographics. So that is something that we will work on as well. Okay, compensation and career growth. We're doing very well. It seems like everybody shows up to work every day. They know what's expected of them. They get prompt feedback from their supervisor, which tells me when you go to work and you're doing something that's not in line with the city's goals or what you should be doing, supervisors are providing that feedback. Where we have room to grow is employees feel like adequate pay, and whether that's the monetary side or if that's just a path to get to a spot where you're making more money with career growth, that is an area that we need to do better. But overall, that is 2 stars. Okay, the last one, the best for last, this is the slide that I am most proud of. Workplace culture and fairness, we are 4 stars all around. Generally speaking, people love working for the city of Destin. They feel respected by their supervisors, they feel respected by their coworkers, and they just generally feel respected whenever they show up to work every day. This is something that is not easy to change. So it's much easier to maintain a good culture than to flip a toxic work environment or a bad culture overall into a good place to work. So I'm very, very happy and proud to announce that we are in a good spot here. So everything else we can work towards, but having this as our foundation is very important. We also asked our employees to rank their benefits in order of importance, and they ranked pay as number 1, and then retirement and health insurance as their 2 and 3. Through conversation with them, it's not that employees don't value merit increases, time off, or recognition, but what they really appreciate is stability. They enjoy knowing that they're going to get a paycheck, they can pay their mortgage, they can retire one day, as I know we all want to, and if something were to happen with their family, they know they can go to the doctor and be taken care of. So it's the stability those top 3 provide that is something that is very important to them. And then this is a summary of our overall satisfaction. So as I said, I'm very proud that the workplace culture and fairness is the top. That is, again, our foundation to build everything else on. And I'll share with you all in just a moment some things that we're working on to work on the last 2. But the senior leader group is going to meet in the next few weeks after we're finished with the small group session to talk as a group to see how we can make the most impactful decisions for our employees, and then also, of course, getting that feedback from council. Next. Thank you. Okay, so key takeaways, like I said, workplace culture and fairness is the best. Where we have to grow is, again, we have to build that 2-way bridge between the employees and the governing body, which is council, and that is something that we will work together with. Could you do the next slide? Okay, so what we're doing. So to help with the career growth, starting in May, we are doing a City of Destin Leadership Academy, and we're going to take 25 employees from various roles in the city, and they're going to attend this Leadership Academy once a month. A professor from Northwest Florida State College is going to come down, teach a 2-hour leadership course, and that's going to go for 6 months. And we are going to do that until every employee in the City of Destin has been through that leadership training. And that's really embodying our principle that you don't have to be in a leadership role to be a leader. Something else that we're doing that is very important is we are doing a deep dive benefits analysis with our broker. Right now, we are fully insured, and every year we come to council and we say, you know, we want all of these things for our employees, but also, we're also going to bring you a 5 to 15% premium increase. And that is not something that is sustainable as we move forward. So we are going to be setting up a workshop with our broker and members of council to discuss a 1 to 5 year option so we could move to a partially self-funded platform and hopefully provide some short-term options to cut those costs. Excuse me. Something else that we are working on is reshaping our time off policy. We are going to be combining our sick and vacation accounts. Nothing is going to change in terms of liability for the city. It will just be employees have time off and that's it. Their accrual rate will stay the same, but I think that's something that will help them feel like the city cares about their mental and physical well-being if they have that time off to take when they need it. And with that, I will open it up to some questions if anyone has any. No? Okay.
When are you gonna bring up the exact plan to address some of the shortfalls to the
We are having the small group sessions this week and next week, and then we're going to meet with the senior leader group after that. So I would say probably sometime after those conversations are had.
Yeah, probably.
I think that's reasonable, yeah.
On the compensation thing, I was at dinner last night with some nonprofits, and they have a little bit similar situation. Yeah. So they have a similar problem, and actually the Boys and Girls Club over in Walton County, Sherman was at the table, and what they've done is lay out, here's how much we spend on your salary, here's how much we spend on your health care, because they're spending like $25,000 a year on each of their employees, and they have about 150 employees in Northwest Florida. Here's how much we spend on your retirement, here's how much we spend, and then, you know, then that number is really their compensation. So they, you know, some people just see what's in the paycheck and see, oh, I made this much this month, but they don't see that the city's paying $30,000 or $40,000 on top of that for retirement and health benefits and other benefits, so vision. So
Yeah.
you might, I don't know if we do that or not, give them a total compensation, but if we don't, we probably should, because
Yes.
that would, you know, you think you're making 40,000, but you're really making 70,000.
Our employees do have access to their total compensation. However, sometimes that's just a tough one. It's tough to educate people and get them to view their paychecks in terms of total compensation. So that's just something that we need to sit down with employees and talk through.
Yeah, but I mean, the benefits manager should be able to help you do that, because they know
Yeah.
the cost, yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Any other questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you, Jamie, and I want to thank all that participated in the survey. That was a very high percentage. We got some real good information from it, and we will be facilitating putting a plan together to make that valuable. So the next item on our agenda is hearing from our partners, and Waste Management is up first. Mr. Doug.
Good morning, and thank you for having us here and me. I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you. Not every city does this, and I think it's rather unique. So again, I commend you all for doing it. I was lucky to be a part of this for years with you guys. Waste management, I was told we need to talk about not a recap of last year, but maybe some future and how we're moving forward and some things we're doing. So as you know, last year we spoke about our sustainability projects, and specifically here in Fort Walton Beach, Okaloosa County, we built a $30 million recycling facility. And that facility was operational as of August. And that means that all of your recyclables that are being put together or taken here are going straight to that MRF where we process, bale, and ship out and sell directly from that location. They are largely U.S.-based facilities where we send them to, and we're really proud of that. We have a $1.4 billion sustainability fund that we're working through, and to be able to do some of that here locally is really important and a big deal. The city manager brought up world-class, and I wanted to first say that, the city of Destin has the highest level of service in solid waste that you really can get. And so I think you're there as in a world-class service to your residents. We are humbled and appreciate you choosing us to be your provider for that service. And we think we do a good job, even though we know it's imperfect. We strive to make that better. So the idea is, how can we be better with that? And sustainability is part of that puzzle. And what can we keep out of the ground? How can we lessen our landfill impacts and really reuse, repurpose, and recycle? So I have some statistics here that I think are fairly interesting to you, and you haven't heard these yet. We've been doing some audits of recycling of all of our municipalities, the county, anything that's coming in. We bring in stuff from Hattiesburg, Mississippi, Jackson, Mississippi, that far away to our MRF here in Fort Walton Beach. So, we're auditing that material so we can come back and tell our customers, hey, you got a lot of contamination, or this is what it looks like. Here are some ways that we can fix that, because we want a clean recycling stream. And I'll get into that a little further, but to start, and I believe I told you this before, but Destin averages about 15% diversion, meaning of the whole amount of stuff that's thrown away, only about 15% of that is recycled material. The rest is garbage. That stacks up locally with some others. Niceville is around 21% on average. Okaloosa County is maybe 16 or so percent. So that's an opportunity to grow that a little bit more. We think that can be done with education. And again, I'll mention that in a second. But a couple of key pieces that I think are important. And I apologize for having to read this because I got it last night. And I'm just going to be very specific. So we pick up solid waste recycling at the curb. Our trucks track that information, and when we audit, we know what neighborhood it came from, we know what street it came from. We know what it looks like when it came out of the can. So we are diving into that in every contract we have to help our municipalities understand where their contamination is coming from. The Indian Bayou area, in November, we checked that, about 40% contamination. 16% of that is bagged material. So that means probably good, clean recycling that somebody put in a garbage bag and put in their can. And that is not recyclable because it contaminates the stream, because the machines and the people who manage that, they don't break bags open and sift through that. It's single stream for a reason, so all things go in loose. It's an education component that we're working with our partners on. But Indian Bayou, 40%, 16% bagged. The Henderson Beach area to the Walton County line was 64% contamination, with 18% of that being bagged material. Excuse me. And then the West Destin area, say north of 98, had a contamination rate of 47% in December, with 12% of that being bagged material. Our goal is to get that to about 15% total contamination. We feel like that's kind of not an industry standard, that's our standard. If you pull out the bagged material, you cut a chunk out of your contamination already. That's low-hanging fruit, right? Tell people not to bag their recycling. Put it in the can the way it's supposed to go, the way the lid says it's supposed to go. And that will be a benefit, because again, the cleaner the stream, the better it is, the easier it is on our equipment. And so we've been meeting with our partners. We've met with Tamara and the mayor on some messaging. We have a very robust campaign that can be used. Some of our local partners have started that, and I think that we're going to start that here in Destin very soon with materials that can be shared. And again, low-hanging fruit would be don't bag it. If you collect aluminum cans, throw them in the can, in the cart, loose. Don't bag them up. And that will begin solving the problem. Recycling is something that residents pay for. It's part of the structure of the contract that we have with you. So everybody gets a can. And, as we begin to partner and really dive into what's happening here locally, because we've never been able to do that before, we think we'll be able to really bring that contamination rate down. And that's truly our biggest focus here locally, especially in the Destin area, because like I said before, you are already at the top. You're doing everything, I think, that a citizen could ask for, especially in the solid waste side, because there's no want left, and that's really commendable. And again, we appreciate the partnership. I can always talk about this in more detail. I'll answer any questions you may have or get back to you if I don't have the answer. I'm not the recycling guy. He actually is out of town today, so I was going to bring him with me. But yes, if there's anything I can answer or anything specific you want to know, I'd be glad to talk to you now or anytime.
I'm so sorry to interrupt.
Got something. It's okay, Doug. Thank you for being here. Has there been any thoughts or discussions about some of the calls, few that I get about things, is if we could ever switch the yard day and the bulk day,
Switch it.
the pickups, for the future of not having, because most people out here from will do their yard work over the weekend.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
And then it sits there for
It's
till Friday.
It's been brought up, and actually, you're not the first person to ask about that in the last
Okay.
6 months.
Okay.
I will say this: can it be done? Yes, but if we change Destin's yard and bulk day, because everything has been set for so long, somebody else's will have to move.
Got it.
And it doesn't mean that we can't do it or we can't figure out a solution. If that's truly something that you guys want to look at, we will sit down and we will break down everybody we're working with.
Sure.
So,
Good
yeah, I mean, yeah, if that's truly something we need to look, we will dissect that and bring it back.
On the recycling and waste and contamination, I think that's, I think we've heard about that before and continue to. And, me personally and people that I've had the conversations with, when Waste Management gave us 2 large garbage cans, they opened the Pandora's box to just throw more trash in there, is at least the perception that many people feel. Going back to the old school little, square thing, I mean, you couldn't throw all your trash in there. You had to throw the cartons and the cans and the bottles, and that was it. Which I know that technology we have the truck and all that. And then now people build houses, they put 2 garbage cans in their kitchen, one for recycling and one for non-recycling, but inside that garbage can is usually a bag. And these are all the things that, I deal with and people we talk to deal with. So the education obviously is key. And I don't know the creative way, you guys and Tamara and all those people are going to have to be very creative because it is important. And I think but unfortunately, convenience nowadays usually causes people just to forget about that, so.
Well, you're right. So we have to change the mindset.
Right.
You have 2 large cans, or carts, but you also get twice a week garbage. So if you are filling up 3 carts a week for garbage, unless you're some kind of crazy vacation rental, most houses, I'm a family of 4 with twice a week garbage, and I only fill my can up halfway once a week typically, and then have recycling. So, because we have the same service I have. So it's tough. Yeah, it's a mindset change.
My only idea I would provide, which might not be favorable to many, if you stop picking up my recycling because there's a bag in it, and your guy leaves a legible note on that can to explain why specifically it was not picked up, it will not take me many times to stop messing up. And that's in my
that
opinion,
is a
with my
tool we
kids,
have.
I have to do things like that.
Yep.
You know.
Understood.
And because the worst thing to have is an overflowing garbage can, whether it's recycling or not. And sometimes I don't know why it's not picked up. So, and I think it's abrupt, but you stop picking up the cans.
Yep. We have.
You know, we might fix that problem.
We do have that ability, and that is part of the process. So we have some co-branded material that we can create that's, you know, City of Destin and Waste Management want this to be this way, and it can be put on the can. Things that we can provide to code enforcement, and we can do ourselves. So yes, again, this deep dive into what is actually happening locally, like hyper locally, is new for us. So yes, you may start seeing some stickers on some carts that say, hey, we're not picking it up because, you know, every time we dump it, it's full of bags, or it's open and we can see all this, you know, the wires hanging out of your recycling cart, which happens. Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
I guess in my neighborhood, somebody happened to follow or be down by the dump in Fort Walton and saw all the recycling going to the garbage. And so now they think that it doesn't get anywhere. And I don't know how, but you're going to have to overcome that. I think most of this happened when we were building in Fort Walton, and we hadn't gotten it there yet, and Pensacola had shut down. So, yeah, that's the only place it had to go. But I know I've talked to several people in my neighborhood about the whole recycle thing, and that's their attitude is, well, it's only going in the dump anyway, so why should we bother?
Well, so thanks for bringing that up, and that's another perception thing that we're challenged with. And you know, luckily we're not located at a landfill like our some other recyclables are. But Okaloosa County Transfer Station, before our MRF opened in August, had the garbage on one side, and right next to it with the Jersey barrier is recycling. And it's very easy to see that, or to assume that it's mixed, and it shouldn't be. I won't say that it never happened, but it shouldn't be. But there's some perception things we have to overcome. We have some educational pieces that have been pushed out locally about our facility that talk about how it's picked up in that yellow lid can, it's put in our truck, and it goes directly to the recycling plant. It's not going to the transfer station where it could accidentally get commingled with garbage or anything like that. Again, that's all part of a long-term education plan, and I appreciate you advocating and letting people know that it's not, and we asked everybody to do that, and we're working with your PIO on that as well. Thank you. We don't, and that's not part of the process, but we have some resources where we can trail. Our trucks are automated service. You know, there's reasons we don't get out of the truck. It's not safe. You know, the cost is exponentially higher when you have to stop, get out of the truck, and there's a lot of things involved in that. And it's not efficient either. To tag a cart like you're talking about would take some additional efforts, but yes, we would do that. We have ways of doing that. It might not happen immediately. We have door hangers as well. I mean, we can walk up and put a door hanger on and say, hey, you know, we didn't get it for this reason. But to your point, no, we don't want to get out of the truck, that truck, to do it. We would have to make some other arrangements. You would think it's not that hard, but we have a plan, and like I said, we're working with the PIO and others and other cities to start that messaging. And we appreciate it when you tell people too. I mean, everybody, let them know.
I was going to suggest that you do like you do on the commercial properties. When something's wrong with a dumpster, you send a picture, and you send it directly to the property owner, and it goes via email.
And we can do that too, because we take a picture of that can and the cart, and when the garbage comes out of it, yes, that's part of the process. It's usually when it's very habitual that we get to that point, but again, that is exactly what we're doing. Miss Lisa knows. It has happened.
I know, I get them all the time.
All right, we appreciate it.
Very much. I really appreciate it. And again, we appreciate your business and your partnership. And we do invite you all out to our MRF anytime you want to see it. I know Jim came out for the opening. I don't know if anybody else was there, but Bobby, Tamara, Anytime you want to come see that thing, we'd love to walk you through it. Once you see it and understand what's happening there, it's pretty eye-opening. So shoot me an email, and you can bring a friend, absolutely. Just give me a call or shoot me an email, any of you, anytime. We'd love to give you a tour.
Thank you, Doug. Thank you, Waste Management, for what you do for the citizens that we serve. Mr. Lockwood from Destin Water Users is coming, and while he's coming, and just remind everyone that there's coffee and donuts and some goodies back here in the back room if you need a break to help yourself. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Lockwood.
Thank you, Larry. Larry talked about moving from good to great, and that there's some steps that need to be taken to do that. And what we'd like to do today is to share some of the things that we think are important. Let me get this the right way. Get it big enough to read. DWU's vision includes moving forward with adoption of the Land Development Code, and it's important to us because that allows us to know what can be built, and it helps us plan for future demand. We think that development and acquisition of beach access to keep our visitors coming back to enjoy paradise is important. And we'd encourage you to try to find a balance in the regulation of vacation rentals that doesn't go so far as to drive people away from visiting, as tourism is a major economic driver in our community. We also encourage you to keep moving forward with development of roads and pathway improvements and the studies that you've been conducting to help address traffic, because that'll assist us in our response. But ultimately, our vision is to continue a long-term working relationship with the City of Destin and the staff so that we can work together to serve our community and to develop a place that we can all enjoy to work, live, and play. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lockwood and Monica. Thank y'all for what you do for the citizens that we serve, because you're a big part of it. Next up is our beach safety folks.
Thank you for having me. Joe D'Agostino, Beach Safety Division Chief for the Destin Fire Control District. I just wanted to touch on where we're at as far as our service. We're in a really, really good spot. Last year, the city approved in their budget an increase in the budget, which is going to help for us to finally get to a point where what I would consider we're at maintenance level. For 20 years, we've been trying to build this thing, and I feel like we're finally in a really, really good spot. And it should be a round of applause for everybody involved in that. We have contracts with the county, contracts with the city, contracts with the state. We have 7 miles of contiguous beach with lifeguards coverage. We do that in the harbor. We do that in the pass. We have a beach wheelchair program at all of our most of our beach entrances and trails, a junior lifeguard program that's held in Henderson Beach State Park, and a lifeguard exchange program with Australia, where we've actually sent some of our local kids over to Australia, and then they've got to live the endless summer. We've brought some of those folks back return. I was going to disagree with you for just a second there, Larry. You gave a great opening presentation there, but thinking about the past and where we're going, and sometimes we need to look at the past to see where we're at and where we need to go. 20 years, last year, beginning of this month, I apologize, I celebrated my 20th year with the Destin Fire Control District. I thought about the things that we discussed. We talk about salary, PTO, whether or not we should have signs here, signs there, what color the flag should be, and we kind of get lost sometimes in that stuff. 20 years is just over 7,000 days. I took a look at one number that stood out, and we rescued 3,322 people in the last 20 years. So if you were to lay that out on a calendar, that means every other day we've saved a life. So all the other stuff is kind of the weeds. That's kind of, to me, the most important thing that we've all been a part of. We don't see those articles in the newspaper anymore. 6 drowned, 10 drowned, what color was the flags? We have fixed that. It doesn't mean that stuff doesn't still happen from time to time. We have a big beach population, a large attendance, but we've kind of nipped that in the bud. So we're in a really, really good spot. Beach safety is going to continue to do that and maintain that for years to come. And if anybody has any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them.
I think you need to put that stat in the paper.
I will, or we will.
I
We
really
will.
do, because in the summertime, you get the worst of it, I'm sure. But
We do, yeah.
but-
No one's drowning today, I hope.
I hope hope so too. They'll freeze. But no, I really think those statistics need to be in the paper, and I think they need to be everywhere that we can promote what we're doing positively versus always the complaints.
That's right. I agree. I would agree.
Could you just remind us again, your count of beach attendance for this last summer?
2 million. 2 million. That's not the exact number, obviously, but it was just at 2 million. We did see a slight decrease. I don't think it was astronomical, but there was a little bit less people here than, say, in 2020, 2021. We all know we had probably more people than we're used to. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Joe, and congratulations on your 20-year milestone. And for those 3,000 some souls that you saved the lives. That's what it's all about. And I appreciate the fact that everything they do is for that end goal. So thank you for that.
Great job, Joe. They've done a great job out there at the beach. For those of you that don't know me, good morning. I'm Deputy Chief Mike Landis with Destin Fire Control District. I'm newer in this role, so please forgive me if I haven't got to meet everybody yet. Just a few things sharing with Destin Fire Control District that you guys can take into consideration as you're planning. We are finalizing our dock, which I'm sure some of you are aware of. We have partnered with Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office to have several of their boats on our dock for faster response. We've also partnered with FWC. Our new boat will be coming in late March, early April. We will have the largest sea burn capability in the state of Florida, which kind of coincides with Eglin Air Force Base and some of the materials that they fly in and out of here, and we will be able to monitor and maintain that relationship with them. That was on a very large grant we got a couple of years ago. So that boat we're excited about coming in. It's going to have a 3,000 gallon a minute pump. So if we get some more of these boat fires that I'm sure you guys have seen recently, we will be even more equipped than we have been the last 20 years to handle some stuff like that. We're increasing our staffing. We are moving to a new schedule, recruiting lots of firefighters. We're doing very well with that. We just hired 12. We're looking to hire 6 more before the start of the summer. With that comes a lot of training. So we've been really ramping up our high-level training. Thank you to the City of Destin, Destin Water Users for really partnering with us and letting us do some of these higher-level courses throughout the city because, that's important. And last, we're partnering with a task force coming out of Tallahassee. This region is kind of isolated from the state. It's one of our main concerns for major disasters, collapses, hurricanes, everything that we've seen all across the state. So with that has brought a lot of training, a lot of experience, and a lot more capabilities for the Destin Fire Control District to be able to handle high-level disasters here in our region, not rely on our state partners. And we can handle our own backyard, so not have to wait for those resources. If you guys have any questions, please feel free. We'd love to partner with the city in anything we can do. Again, we're some of your biggest fans, so. All right, thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate all that the fire district does for our citizens. Captain Fulgham.
Morning. So anyone who doesn't know me, I'm Jason Fulgham. I'm the captain with the Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office. And the Sheriff's Office would like the City of Destin to consider 2 things for your visioning for years to come. The first is one that we spoke to about before is the Stallman office. And Mr. Destin, you may have to fact check me here because some of this I got from folks who have been around as long as you have in the city. But the Stallman office was built prior to the city actually being a city, by firemen who scavenged the cinder blocks to build it from where the old Sea Glass Motel burned down. So, and while it has served well for a number of years, it is certainly not world-class. We are out of space. Most of the guys are having to share offices over there. None of the first-line supervisors don't have offices over there. They're out at the commons, so they're separated from their guys. And we're out of storage space there. We've got our server room is also a storage room. which is, I'm not an IT guy, but from what I understand, that's certainly not ideal. And then, you know, on a other side, besides just storage, you know, people come to Destin because it's a beautiful place. Y'all live here because it's a beautiful place. I love it because it's a beautiful place. And the image that we put forth is important. And the image of the Stallman office right now is not world-class. It's looking its age. And, you know, a lot of people think that my job is to put bad guys in jail. And the truth of the matter is a law enforcement officer's job, and this is something that's very difficult to get across to younger law enforcement officers, is not to put people in jail. It's to restore the dignity of victims. And part of restoring that dignity comes with the professional image being put forward. And I want to see the image of the city of Destin and Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office law enforcement be that of professionalism and one that can restore dignity. So I would like to ask for the city to consider partnering with the TDD to try to build an office there that not only houses us, houses EMS, but also can house code enforcement. And a lot of people ask why I want code enforcement there. It's because the code enforcement is probably the department in the city that we partner with the closest. And I used to always tell people when I started in law enforcement that I wanted my partners not just to be my partners, but I wanted them to be my friends as well. Because when I'm getting my butt kicked on the side of the road, I don't want my zone partner coming to help me because I'm a fellow law enforcement officer. I want my zone partner coming to help me because I'm his friend. That makes a difference. And it makes a difference when we're working closely in the same office with the people that we have to partnership with. So again, I would just like y'all to consider partnering with the TDD. Anything that we can do to facilitate that, we will certainly do, to try to make that an office that we all can be proud of. The other thing that I would like to see is us add a beach deputy to the City of Destin contract. I spoke to several of y'all about that last year as something upcoming. You heard Chief Joe say that we had approximately 2 million visitors to the beach last year, which was actually down slightly from previous years. And our beach deputies are the spear that keep Destin and Okaloosa Island beaches family-oriented and keep it from turning into what Panama City Beach has become regrettably over the years. You know, right now we only have 3 deputies in our beach unit, and we have to run 2 shifts in order to get 7-day-a-week coverage, which means that half the time out there, 1 deputy is having to cover both beaches in Okaloosa Island and Destin. And y'all can imagine with the East Pass being in the middle of that, you know, having to drive your ATV back up to your truck, get in your truck, drive over to the island, get in the truck over there and drive out to, you know, drive to the ATV out on the Destin or the Okaloosa Island beach and back, makes a difference. And Joe can tell you, when my beach deputy that's on that shift, it's only 1 deputy, when he's over on Okaloosa Island, Joe's folks are calling saying, hey, where's our deputy, where's our deputy? And vice versa, when they're over here, when he's over here, Chief Huffenagel is calling me saying, hey, where's our beach deputy? And the reason for that is, you know, a lot of people would think that that's a job that you could kick back and kind of enjoy the scenery. It's not. Our beach deputies are some of the busiest deputies in our agency. Over the past 5 years, they've averaged 604 arrests a year. They average 59 distress swimmer calls a year. Some people may not realize, but Joe certifies our beach deputies as open water lifeguards as well. So we're able to assist his folks in pulling people from the water. And last year alone, we answered 7,142 calls for service, just those 3 guys. So, yeah, it's a needed position, and I would certainly like to see the city consider adding that to the city contract. I'm here for any questions, if anyone has any. Yes, sir.
Y'all still have the office over the Commons, right?
Yes, sir, we do.
Do y'all pay a lease amount for that?
Yes, sir, I'll have to get back with you about what the lease amount is, but I want to say it's $1 a year.
Yeah, because I think.
As you're aware, Sheriff's
Based on
Office,
some of our other conversations that we're having, you know, if we put a facility here, as opposed to Stallman and the Commons, you put it here, you put you in code, this is kind of centrally located. The sheriff, whatever he's paying for that lease payment, could help us. We could get the TDD. I don't mind kicking in a little bit, but I think that might be a better solution. I mean,
we would love that.
this just came on the radar, so I have to think about it.
We would absolutely love for that office to be combined with the city facility for many reasons. One, because it's centralized, and it'll give us better response times from the actual office and easier for the guys to come to. But two, because of what I was talking about before, because not only are we partners with Code, we're partners with y'all. We're partners with the city, and we value that partnership. I value that partnership tremendously. Most of your city staff are good friends of mine from the years that I've been working out here. And I would truly love to see it one facility where we can all work together closely.
Who owns that building at the airport that used to be the EMT office?
EMS, I believe.
EMS still owns that? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Captain Fulgham, thank you for being here. Appreciate it. Similar to Mr. Bagby, similar thoughts, obviously. I think for me, my vision, working with the sheriff's department over the years, you know, I continue to try to fight for the citizens of Destin and the money that we pay you guys. To also try to fight for making sure that the fair share is being burdened by the county specifically as well. You know, because I think there's still room for improvement for that, for the citizens of Destin. But I think besides the TDD, I'm hoping that the vision of the sheriff will also be to work with us and the Board of County Commissioners in the county specifically to help that vision, right? I mean, I agree with you. It would be good to have more space. You know, I see the ambulance parked at that office on Stallman too. Is that a county? The ambulance that's
The
there?
EMS has got 2 offices inside the office there, and it's
Right.
it's an agreement with their county. It's an agreement
They have
that
an agreement with the sheriff's department?
Not with the sheriff's
Or with
office, it's the city building.
Gotcha. So there's a lot there for sure. But like Mr. Bagby said, I mean, the idea of the future here is being discussed. There's also property by Publix that we've been in discussions with as well. And, you know, I think it would be good to know if the sheriff outside of the TDD is truly wanting to partner with us on things like that, because there's opportunities in the near future that I think we could look at.
Yeah,
me personally.
absolutely. We're willing to sit down and talk about anything. Obviously, as everybody knows, the sheriff's office can't own property.
Sure.
So any building that we're in has to belong to someone else that we.
Right, but you're in
know,
a
we-
shopping mall right now, and you're in our old
Correct.
building, so besides just putting the burden on us to try to figure out where to put you guys, that we already pay you over $1 million a year to be here for, let's partner together and figure out with the county, with
More-
the TDD, and with the city, and figure out where to put y'all.
More than willing to
do
cooperate
it,
and sit
yeah.
down and work on it, but,
Let's do it.
and as you know, that the money that y'all pay to the sheriff's office doesn't create a profit for us, I assure you. It all goes to operating expense. Yes, sir. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Captain, and thank you for all you do for us, the city. I can tell you that in my short time here, anytime we've needed anything from the Sheriff's Office, Captain has stepped up and delivered. So we appreciate that partnership. Mr. Chang?
Thanks, Larry, and thanks, everybody, for the opportunity to be here. I enjoyed your presentation. I'm stealing a couple of those things to put into my leadership and sales and customer service slides and presentations that I do. So I thought some of them were good. And Doug touched on this a little bit. the phrase world-class. That's in our vision statement, building a world-class community, one business at a time. And I think it's neat that everybody's using the same phrases and the same messaging. I also think it's cool to sit here because all these people sitting over here where I'm sitting are your partners, but they're also our partners. And it's this community really is intertwined. These people over here speak to groups of ours at the chamber 4 or 5 times a year, just like most of you sitting around this table as well. And I talked about Destin Forward at the council meeting the other night. And I look around the room, and there's probably 10 or 11 people who went through the Destin Forward program. And you all have spoken to the Destin Forward program. And I think that's a great chamber-city relationship and one that makes our community better. Give you a little more global picture than others have talked about in here, and there's a reason for I'll do that. I'll narrow it down to the city. But Florida has the 16th largest economy in the world. So if we were our own country, be 16th in the world in GDP size, we're about to pass Saudi Arabia, and that's something a lot of people don't know. So when we look at this as the chamber, it's how do we get our piece of that economy? Well, what can we do to make this bring that here? Something else that's going to excite you is by the year 2030, there are going to be 2 million more drivers on the road in the state of Florida. Now, sometimes we feel like there's 2 million people on the road out here in Destin when it gets bogged down, but that's something that we've got to face as a community. There are going to be more people here. We're the second fastest growing population state in the country, behind Texas. Everybody's flocking, you know this, from California, Illinois, Jersey, Connecticut, New York, and they're all coming south. And the people from the west are going to Texas. The people from the northeast and midwest are coming to Florida. Population of Florida is going to be close to 24 million people by 2030. Right now in Okaloosa County, there are, let me look at this because I want to give you accurate numbers. There are 4,314 open jobs in the county, and there's only 2,900 people looking for jobs. So that's 69 people per 100 jobs. So even if those people looking for jobs were employed, we're still behind by about 1,200 open positions. Those are things that we've got to address. I'm not going to talk about the Crosstown Connector. Y'all know how I feel about that. Parking garages, you know how we feel about that. But I think a parking garage needs to be looked at as multi-use, not just parking. You can build a parking garage and put 3 stories of affordable workforce housing apartments on top of it or underneath it and put the parking garage on top. You rank your service people as you take care of your residents, you take care of the tourists, you take care of the businesses. When we say advocating, our mission statement is advocating for business, strengthening our community. Part of advocating for the business is the workforce. Without the workforce, we don't have the business. So creating some kind of workforce housing in this community, I think is, and we've talked about it, it's not something you don't know, but I did want to just mention that. We've got, Councilman Schmidt just brought up the Publix property, which my understanding is that we may have another opportunity there. That's a golden opportunity. Like, those things don't come to communities like this very often. A lot of y'all probably don't know that I've got a lot of economic development experience in my 31 years in this silly profession that I've been doing. I look at it and I go, we're never going to recruit an auto manufacturer in Destin. We're just not. We don't want it. But what can we do ancillary that would bring those high-skilled, high-wage jobs here that would help us fill the workforce? And then the last thing I will say is, I've sit in here in this room a lot, and especially lately, and listen to y'all talk about fees and impact fees and mobility fees and things like that. We've had to look at it as a chamber as our expenses are going up. I mean, a breakfast, we charge $25 to come to a breakfast, and that's what a breakfast per person costs us. And we've had to go up on those prices over the last 4 or 5 years because of inflation. You guys have to do the same thing. Don't be scared or hesitant to raise your fees if you have to meet the needs that the community has. That is part of your responsibility. I'm a chamber guy. I am not a tax and spend. I'm not a charge fees and spend person, but you have to cover your expenses. And Jamie talked about the cost of insurance going up. We've been lucky. We've only had a 3 to 5% increase each year for the last 4 or 5 years, but you start getting into 8, 10, 12% increases on a staff your size, that's a lot of money, and there's got to be a way that you make that money and pay for it. Again, I appreciate all that y'all do. I look around, and I know that every one of you, and this happens quite often, I get confused by something at a city council meeting. I know that I can pick up the phone on Tuesday morning and call any of you sitting around this table, and you'll give me the answer that I'm looking for, and I appreciate that. Keep up the good work. You're doing good stuff. You may not hear about it all the time. Those quiet dogs are out there. I know because I have them too. And I appreciate what you do. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Shane, and on behalf of the city, thank you for all the chamber does for the citizens. Showtime.
Can I ask a question about
Yes, sir.
something Shane just said?
Yes, sir.
One thing you mentioned, Mr. Moody, was the affordable workforce housing, right? How do you overcome the dilemma that it's affordable the first time, but once that person purchases it, they can sell it for whatever they want? And it's no longer the affordable workforce housing on round 2. I mean, I get first round, but second round.
I don't like to use the phrase affordable because everybody in here can afford something. Workforce is, one thing else that I would add is no more apartments, please, unless you're going to require them to put 35% workforce affordability apartments in them. But it's you have to, that's what I'm saying, you have to look, it can't just be building apartments. It has to be apartments as part of something else that is also generating income. This, like we wanted to do on this property over at Publix, you build some office and retail that helps pay for the construction of 2 stories of workforce apartments on top of it. After the first round, when they can afford it, how do they get to the second round? That comes from high-skill, high-wage jobs in the community. And that doesn't necessarily fall on us. That falls on other organizations as well. It falls on the county. It falls on the EDC. And we're a regional economy as well. It's funny, people are so Destin this, and we don't come to Destin because we don't like it, or we don't go to 30A because we don't like it. If you don't think people aren't crossing county lines, and y'all have heard me say this a lot. We're a community, y'all have 14,000 residents you have to worry about. But the major impacts on our infrastructure are not the residents in the city limits. There's Kelly, there's Walmart, there's Home Depot, there's Publix, there's Destin Commons. We're a community probably of 25 to 30,000 every single day. But then there are times we're a community of 100,000 people, so the decisions that we make have to be, it's big city problems for a small community. We don't have small community problems, we've got big community problems. And so they have to be addressed like we're a big city, because here in a couple of weeks, we'll have 80,000 people in town. So, did I answer your question?
I'm going to ask the sheriff to give him Chief Bage's presentation from the other night after this. Okay, we don't need the whole presentation again because most of us were sitting in there, but the community land trust is the solution. And
yeah.
So that's, and our chief can give you that presentation because I'm hitting up against the time thing here.
Okay. Did I answer your question? Sort of, maybe, kind of?
Sort of, kind of. I think
Okay.
once I read this or review the presentation he's speaking of.
Yeah,
maybe
and
I'll have
again, that's a
better
new
answer.
idea. There's nothing wrong with a new idea. That's how you have, I think you have to look at it like that. It can't be, well, let's go build a bunch of houses that people can afford. I think it's got to be part of something else.
All right. Now it's time to move to council,
Yep.
and I know Mr. Bagby.
And I'm just going to ask
in a
y'all's
hurry.
indulgence because I got to
So,
leave at 10 to go get my wife and go to the airport. So if you haven't read Good to Great, read it. I've read it probably 4 or 5 times. I've been using it to train my teams the last 15 years. Some of the stuff in there is dated, so some of the good to great companies that they identified in 2003 are not great anymore. Some of them still are, and that's a good thing. There's a couple of points. One, the most important point of that book, and maybe I missed it when I was writing notes, but the most important is right at the beginning. You got to get the right people on the bus in the right seats. Nothing is more important than that. You're not going to get the flywheel concept, and you're not going to do the hedgehog concept, and you're not going to do all those things if you don't have the right people in the right seats. I think we have the right people in the right seats at the senior level, and we leave it up to y'all to make sure that we have the right people in the right seats on the bus in the other seats on the bus. And so, and a big part of that is communication. So when your thing showed up, because usually, you know, it's just like Shane said, if he has a question coming out of a council meeting, he's not afraid to call. I have lots of folks call me the day after a council meeting, you know, what did you mean by that? Okay, this is where I am. I can't speak for anybody else, but it's communication to your teams that sometimes it breaks down. And so their perception is, you know, the council doesn't like them or the mayor doesn't like them. No, we love them, okay? But we also are responsible stewards for the budget, for the fiscal side of it. So I'd like to pay everybody, you know, $100,000 a year, but that's not going to happen. So, you know, that's the communication. I would ask you to work on that. And then the flywheel concept, he briefly mentioned it. It's on your path to greatness. You know, you start out good, and it's like pushing a flywheel, and it takes a lot of energy and a lot of effort. But then once you build it, it almost takes a life of its own. And so then things become real easy because everybody kind of knows what everybody else is doing. But no, I read it. I read it probably in the last year and a half, and took my team up in Crestview through it. So I would recommend it to you. I have a couple extra copies if the library doesn't. You know, on the vision, I want a peaceful coastal community. That's really what I want. I want everything, you know, I want all the power lines buried, both for a resiliency issue. So resiliency is more than 98, because if one of those lines goes down, then whole sections of the town go down. You know, if you're in Sandy's house and your line goes down, your house goes down. But everybody else may have power. But if those lines on 98 go down, whole swaths of the town go down. And in a big storm, you know, if we were to lose those, then you can't drive up and down 98, which is our main corridor to, you know, evacuate people or to move emergency vehicles down or whatever. I want parks in all parts of the town. I want little pocket parks. You know, we can't have enough green space in this town for folks to go out and play with their kids or their dog or whatever. And just because it's a calming effect, there's a, you know, a coastal community has kind of a rhythm. It's an ebb and flow, just like the tides or the boats coming in and going out. And that's what I would like to see. Yeah, we've gone through you know, Shane talked about commercial. There was a time 25 years ago, people thought we were going to have commercial. We're going to have light industry in here. We're going to manufacture things. And it's like, we're not going to manufacture things. Are you kidding me? A manufacturing person cannot afford to buy land and build a factory in here and then find the people. I mean, we can't even find the people to do the businesses we have, much less some, even if it's a high tech. Then we were going to build a banking center, or we were going to be a finance center, and we were going to bring all those people in because they could afford the houses. Let's just be what we are, okay? We're a coastal community. We're good neighbors. You know, we're going to have businesses, we're going to have banks, and we're going to have grocery stores, and we're going to have all this other stuff, but we don't need to try to be something that we're not, and we need to focus on that harbor. The Community Land Trust, I'm not sure it would be here, but maybe if it's just across the bridge, or maybe it's, most of the places that are booming are Crestview and Freeport, and I mean, they are booming. Mossy Head is booming too. So I look forward to seeing the plan of, maybe improving our communication with our staff. And I'm more than willing, I know Sandy is, she's going to do committees and stuff, but I'm more than willing to come and answer any questions anybody has on this team, all 130 of them or whatever it was, whatever that number was. So, and I think we're all committed to, having a world-class community. And I think, and we've improved in a lot of areas. The Harbor Boardwalk, the parks on the harbor, the parks on the bay, didn't exist 25 years ago. They all came from a vision of, and when I think vision, I just close my eyes and go, what I want it to look like. I just want it to be calm. I don't want to see any overhead lines. I just want to see trees. I want to see little parks and people playing in parks and things like that. So that's my vision. And I'll answer any questions about any of my comments or observations because I want to be a part of the community too. No? Okay.
Well, I didn't know if we wanted to get Tori, because he's kind of out of the,
Tori, do you have to leave?
No, and I apologize. So I have a big job in Sebring, Florida. I drove all night to get here. On my phone, apparently my phone's smarter than I am. So since I was in Eastern time, on my calendar, it said 9:30. So when I got here at 5 this morning, when I actually got back into town at 5 this morning, I didn't check again and saw that it was 8:30. So that was my fault, but I'm here for the rest of the day, and I apologize for my tardiness.
You made it anyway. That's why I was going to give Tori a little more time to contemplate since he'd gotten in late.
okay,
Yeah, and
good
I'm
job.
going to research this land trust thing because one of the downfalls I'm seeing is you have to have a significant amount of land to make it work. And we don't have many 10-acre lots here in Destin, Florida. So I don't anticipate that that's our solution, but I'm going to research a little more while y'all are debating.
That'd be somewhere else.
Well, I don't know, but I immediately thought of what we had an idea of affordable housing was putting it on top of the parking garages, and we own the property, so they can't resell the house for more than they paid for it, essentially, or what the going rate is, so they don't make much. And so that keeps it affordable for the people going forward. I know he said he didn't want me to tell you that we need trees on Airport Road, but we need trees on Airport Road.
He said Morgan's.
No. But anyway, I have done quite a bit of listening, I guess, to Parks and, because of the Parks Foundation. We need more money for our parks. The other thing we need to do is, we have identified a lot of areas that are rights-of-ways that go to the water. We need to assign those to a particular department. We need to decide what we're going to do with those. We can't turn them into parks. They are in residential neighborhoods. They should not be advertised to our visitors. But did you know that you could take your dog swimming on a right-of-way that you can't do in a park? So just think about that. We have a whole lot of space now that people in neighborhoods can actually take their dogs swimming. And that's been one of the questions that we've had for a long time. I'd like to see $10 million put into parks. I think we could do a lot with that, and we could really work toward making it world-class, but we'd have to have a vision statement. The other thing is I want to put the word history back in the vision, however we can get it in there, because I think that Destin actually brought this up on his term. That opens us up to more grants because of the history we have here in our town. There are historical grants out there. So we're always looking for money, we're always looking for things to do. So just by adding the word history into the vision, I think now we can open that up. Without it in there, we really don't have any way to write a grant that says we're going to focus on history. I think what the Destin Forward Group is doing by putting the QR codes down in Leonard Destin Park and getting Dewey and Parker to talk about their history and all of that for the visitors that are here, that was an original goal for the boardwalk. To do that along the boardwalk, because that's where the first fishermen were. So expanding on that and looking at that, but that is history, and that costs money. And if we can get some money by putting history in the vision, I think we need to do that. The trees that I mentioned, we're building sidewalks all over the place, and I think that's great. I'm all for that, but I also think we need to provide some kind of shade for that sidewalk, because people aren't going to walk on something in 100-degree weather that they can't have some kind of respite somewhere along the line. It doesn't have to be shade all along them, but somewhere. I think we're going down the right path and doing what we're doing. I think we need to focus, and I think you've heard members of council talk about we need to improve our parks, we need to improve our green space, we need to do all of that. I like what Sheriff Fulcom said about combining the sheriff's office with code enforcement. I think they work hand in hand anyway, so if we can find a place for everybody to be at that particular point, that's fine. I too want to improve communication with the staff. I hope all of them understand that they can come to me at any time and tell me they're mad at me, or tell me they don't like an idea, or tell me, you know, because I don't hold grudges. But anyway, I think the line of communication definitely is open, but I'm a big parks person, I'm a big green space person, and I'm a tree hugger. So any way we can make that work, I'm all for it, and I'll be glad to sponsor it. Thanks.
Sure, Mr. Mayor. Pro Tem. I asked Mr. Destin, all these years, has he ever been the mayor? He said no. He gets to make motions and vote on things as a council member, so. Thank you, Mr. Larry and staff, for doing this year. Thank you to our partners and anybody here I think you're all partners, even if you're here as citizens, you're partners with us, so thank you, and staff members that are here. You know, I think this is my 4th or 5th visioning session, so it's been, every year it's always, it's good, it is good. And we talk about similar things, but what happens when we leave these vision sessions is, in my opinion, one of the most important things. And, you know, I feel that, unfortunately, because of the ebbs and flows of our city leadership in the past handful of years, that might have caused some of the visioning issues, maybe. I don't know. You know, me personally, to hear that there's city employees that see disrespect, or whatever the term was, that they feel that the council has towards them, I don't like to hear that. I truly don't like to hear that. And I would put that, Larry, on you, now that you're here, to, you know, the doors are always open. Sure, my door's open, but I know that a staff member is not going to want to call a council member, and I get that. But I'm going to put that on you to hopefully be our middle, at least for me, because I don't want any human, any person to feel like that. And if they do feel like that, for me personally, I believe it's possibly because of maybe the change in leadership we've had, and we're putting more weight on them, but ultimately, city manager is or isn't here sometimes, and so we're trying to go through that. So that's my first thought on that one. You know, the last vision session last year, I think a lot of us here, and the ones that aren't here anymore, talked about the parks. We talked about that a lot last year, I think. I think Ms. Firth might recall. We talked about the kids in this community. But the actions that we have taken over the last year, I don't think met any of those discussions. The action that we took nearly a month ago to delay the park master plan, in my opinion, goes against everything that Mr. Bagby just said. He voted to delay that. And I'm not trying to attack anybody, but we're visioning here, right? We spent a year ago, we said how important parks are. And in the past year, as a council, we haven't done that. And we can try to do that, but again, I'm going to put it on you and others to bring it back to us more often or something. Put the pressure on the city council. And I'm going to continue to do that too myself, because we've all said that's an important vision, but we're not doing anything with that. Pocket parks, all that stuff, we've talked about it year after year, but we're not doing anything. And those are some of the most important things to the citizens. I believe that. And I hope we can do that. I hope we can put money into our parks and recreation, because we've all said how important that is. The fees and all these things that we're talking about with mobility and building and all those things will help us create a forward-thinking city in the future to help us keep up with finances. But there's other things that the citizens want to see visually, I believe, I truly believe, and I hope we can get there. We have a plan and a vision for our roads, for our sidewalks, for our striping. You know, we have those plans and visions, but I think we need to have a vision for the landscaping of our city. I don't think we have that plan. You know, Airport Road and our other roadways have been so important over the years, but I would love to see a plan in the future and the budget future about the landscaping at our city streets and roadways, because visually those are so important, just as they are as the roads. And you know, whether it was supposed to be today or not, I feel like it should be, but I'm a little concerned and upset that we do not have the SRS item being brought to us today to talk about at our visioning session. That was supposed to be discussed today, I thought, because that is a big item about the future of the city of Destin. So I really hope at a future city council meeting sooner than later that will come up, because from my understandings, staff needs to know what to do next. And for me personally, we need to look at that plan big time and vision how we can do that for the city of Destin with the sheriff's department that he already talked about, you know, for everybody else, because I get that the $40 million price tag made everybody laugh and not want to talk about it. But we can't have that mindset when we're talking about the future of Destin in 10, 20, 30 years. That plan, and I get we've all had plans before, but that is a very, I believe, a very important plan to the future of the city to discuss our issues that we have, our issues that the sheriff's department has, our issues that code enforcement has, our issues that our kids have in growing in this city. And I really hope that we'll take action on something like that here soon. So I appreciate everybody. I appreciate us doing this. We've had, I think you're our third city manager now in my 1+ term. If you need me or others to help you do something, to help push this vision forward, please let us know. I don't want to be a micromanager for the vision of the city. I don't want to do that, me personally, as a city councilman. I love volunteering my time, and I think a lot of us do. But we need, we need city management to help tell us, right? I want to see our action plan, our steps. We've lived off of the strategic vision and goals for years around here, but I think that's out the window now, I think. So when we leave here, I would love to see what you want to make sure we can help you and staff and everybody else execute this vision, because I will fight hard tooth and nail to make sure that I can at least try to work with them to equip you and the staff to get these things done. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Corey?
Thank you, sir, and I appreciate you giving me just a moment to kind of review some things out there. But I think one thing Shane Moody said is something we really need to concentrate on too. We're 14,000 locals with almost 100,000 people here, and if we're going to put locals first, I think we really need to start looking at some programs to put locals first. And I realize this hasn't been in, it's been a part of past visioning, but not necessarily. I am curious if we can do local business reach out programs where we offer them some type of recognition or preferential treatment if they do local benefit or local performance-based programs such as, in the past, local discounts, but even local waiting lists. So when it's a holiday or your wife's birthday or whatever, if you're a local, you can go into a restaurant and get on a separate waiting list, and you're not waiting 2 hours to have a meal or something like that, you know? Just something that the city can kind of work on to try to put locals in that mindset that this is their community, and not that they're just being run over by everybody that's coming down here trying to make a dollar or enjoy our area. Another thing I'd like to bring up, separate than that, is the staff appreciation. One, I recognize staff as being the professionals, and I hope that in the past I've let you all feel that way. I know in the first couple years of my term, I used to come to your offices all the time, visit, just spend time with you, talk with you, never ask you to do anything, but try to understand what you all did. And I hope that other council members are doing the same thing to show their level of appreciation and respect for what you do every single day. And if we're not, then shame on us, because you guys, you're the professionals. You know your job inside and out. We might know 1/1,000,000th of what you know, and we have an idea, and it's your expertise, your knowledge, your experience that facilitates that idea. Something that I would like to do or offer up is that we do some type of staff, council events, whether it's float trips, whether it's just team building things. I realize that we might have some conflict with Sunshine, but I mean, as long as we have our core there and we're not talking, and a lawyer there potentially, and we're not talking about anything related. I do remember a couple years ago, under Lance Johnson's realm, you all did a cookout up at the community center. I asked if I could volunteer, and I was told they'd prefer council not to be there. And I hope we can overcome that moving forward. I would love to have been able to grill something for you, cook, whatever it takes, just to show those level of appreciation. But what I would really ask is that you guys give us ideas. I mean, other than the fact that we need to show respect, courtesy, and move forward with some of the plans. Give us ideas on how we can improve, because obviously we're all human, we all make errors, we all have busy lives, and we overlook a lot of little details. So maybe I'm asking for me personally. Let me know what I can do to be better for you. All right? That's about all I got.
That leaves me. And I share the visions of many of the council members that I've shared this morning. Sandy's trees on Airport, it would sure look a lot better than this, the spare concrete, hot thing that it is. So that and landscaping and making it look better in Destin, I support that. The parks, I support that also. We have made great strides from the time when I first started on this council. We didn't have any parks. Now we've got large swaths that we bought on the beach. We put parks all over. Made great strides, but need to keep making those strides. I'm proud of the staff, the job they do. one of those jobs that doesn't get a lot of appreciation and gets a lot of criticism because, of course, people are always unhappy with whatever we do, and the staff is unfortunately, the focal point of their unhappiness many times. There's one thing that concerns me, and I think that, we hear what's most important to the people in Destin. I can tell you through my experience, the most important thing to the people in Destin is the ability to live in Destin. Sandy and I can testify to the fact that most of the people who we grew up with, who we went to school with, are not here anymore. Most of them left for one of two reasons. They couldn't afford to live in Destin anymore, or the crowded, hectic pace we have just didn't agree with their lifestyle. And the very few left, and they're leaving all the time. So that leads me to my fear that as we move forward to try to implement all of these visions, all of these, they're tremendously expensive. We only have a pot of money that's so big. So we have to balance our pie in the sky and everything we want to do for everybody with the fact that we only have a certain amount of money. Can we get more? Sure we can. But every time we raise a fee, every time we raise any of the costs of what you have to pay to live in Destin, we impact the people who live here, and we impact the businesses tremendously also. So we need to balance what we want to do with how much money we want to cost the folks who live here to pay. Because after all, government doesn't create money. It just takes money from the people who live here and spends it. So that's, that's part of the vision that I have, is that while we need to move forward with some of these initiatives, we don't need to raise the amount of money that it costs the people in Destin to live in Destin to the point that they have to go somewhere else. Then we truly don't have a community. And that's what the trend has been now for 20 years. And we need to, part of our vision means to be that we do not destroy our community by doing things for our community. So, it's a balancing act and always has been, but it's one that we need to pay attention to quite closely, or we'll have the nicest parks, the prettiest beaches, the best parking garages, the affordable housing, but no community anymore. It'll just be like any other city that has a high tax rate and a high spend rate. At some point, there's too much. So I will leave my vision at that point. We just need to stay reasonable in our ability to tax and spend, and also in our ability to regulate. A lot of the folks who move away, they moved away because they want to get outside of a highly regulated area. And we have done a good job of staying away from that in the past, but we need to bear that in mind too. City Manager?
Thank you for your kind words. Thank you for your support. On behalf of staff, you don't know how important that is to us, to know that when we're out there trying to push through, that you're behind us. And we appreciate that. And we want you to know that we're behind you guys. That's our job. You give us marching orders and we try to go put them through. So we're looking forward to it. When I said earlier that I make sure that our staff knows my door is always open, I want to make sure you guys know it's always open. It doesn't matter if you need something from my or our office, our staff, let us know. I'm not offended for you guys to reach out to staff if you've got a question. Obviously there are charter things that say you do and things I do and don't, but I trust your judgment. I trust you to call Jamie if you've got an HR question. I don't think you're going to call Jamie and tell her to fire someone. So don't hesitate to reach out in those instances, but certainly I want you to know that you're always welcome, and I take our job very serious. But as Steve London said in his book Fish, we don't have to take ourselves serious, but our jobs are very serious. So again, thank you for your support, kind words, and we look forward to moving things forward. So I got a few things we're going to close with. Where did Andy go? Public comments, there we go. Okay. So anyone from the public have any other comments? Anyone from our partners have any further comments? How about staff? You guys got anything you want to share? Yes, sir, come on. Yeah.
It's already gone, good. Do I have to say my name? Brian Otto, 3826 Indian Trail. Yeah, parks, right? You guys have heard me say it, I'm here all the time, parks. It's the partnership. Every place I go, every park is sponsored by something, but I don't see that when I go to our parks here. Maybe it's just not that we don't have the signage, but everywhere you go, Ferry Park, I was just there last weekend in Fort Walton Beach, some aviation company built the sign, right? We need to figure out a way to get more partnerships in our parks so we have the funding. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Anyone else? Staff, anybody? Okay. All right, we will move right through. I just got a few more things I want to share. And Andy? Yeah, keep going. It should be the next one. No, go all the way to the end. We'll get there shortly. We get to see Meatloaf again. That was pretty cool. Right here. So, you guys hand us that nasty tie-dye T-shirt, we're going to try to bring you back a rainbow. Sometimes that's hard to do, but that's our goal. I thought that was, I heard that analogy the other day, and I thought that was pretty interesting because sometimes what we walk away with ain't real pretty, but we're going to do our best to deliver it back in that next state. So as we move forward, we're talking about progress in motion. I'm stressing to our staff that we're going to move forward with a sense of urgency. It's not going to be in a rush and we're not going to be in a panic. But when we show up in the morning, we're going to look at the things we need to get done in an urgent manner. Destin's growing. It's a dynamic city. We need to be able to deal with the challenges as they come before us, and we have to act with urgency. Again, not in a rush and not in a panic, but with a sense of urgency to get things done. We need to embrace change. We've all heard the old saying that if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Well, sometimes if it ain't broke, we need to break it. And get out of the mold of we've always done it this way. Let's look for those new ways to do things, and we'll find there may be better ways to move forward. And not be afraid of change. Let's embrace it, and let's let it be our friend so that we can do things better than what we've done before. This is one that I think is important, that I'm stressing to staff, is we need to see things through the lens of the city council. You guys are in a unique position that, again, as I said earlier, you put yourself out there and said, would you vote for me to come represent you in the city government? And as Mayor Pro Tem said, you know, we get to take those people's money. You get to go say, this is how much money you're giving us, and they don't really have a choice. So that's a unique situation to be in, and us on staff, we need to understand that what goes into what you guys do. I'm fortunate that I have sat there so I can share some of that insight with them, but don't ever hesitate to reach out to us and let us know maybe we're not thinking about it the way you see it or think of it. And let us know that, because that's what's important, is that, you know, we're all in this together and we all have a role to play, and we need to respect and understand what the role of the city council is. And as issues come before us, we need to have the mindset of, if I were a council member, how would I see that? And put ourselves in your shoes so that we can see it in the vision that you see it in. Next slide is those of you that up here with me remember driving late at night, turning your AM radio on and listening to WWL out of New Orleans or WSB out of Atlanta, and some talk radio show. Neil Bortz was on Atlanta late night forever. But I was coming home from Jacksonville one night, and I tuned in, and it was probably early morning, and I picked up a radio show where the individual was the host was interviewing the executive director of the Jacksonville Symphony Orchestra. And the guy had been there for 2 years. The first year he got there as executive director, the symphony orchestra in Jacksonville was running $1 million in the red. Now, I'm a country boy from Mossy Head. I couldn't imagine any symphony orchestra dealing with $1 million, much less running in a deficit by $1 million. But the next, over 2 years, he had it turned around and they were operating with a $1.5 or $2 million in the black. And the host asked him, he said, well, how in the world did you pull that off? He said, it was very simple. We instituted a policy that said, that which gets measured gets done. So we've embraced that in our staff, that when we're trying to get something accomplished, we're going to put measurements in it. We're going to have milestones, and we're going to make those incremental successes so that we can come to the end of the goal. And so there's value in measurement. So we're going to work to measure the things that we're trying to do so that we can know we can get them done. Next thing is see something, fix something. You know, we're out and about the city all the time. I've told our staff, if you see something needs to be fixed, corrected, take care of it. You don't need to make a phone call to see if it's okay. I mean, if it needs to be done, let's just do it. And not worry about who's going to get credit or how it got done. But, you know, let's do our best to take care of the things that they come forward. And finally, Robert Frost and his, the road not taken, says 2 roads diverge into a wood. And I took the one less traveled, and it's made all the difference. I suggest that less traveled road is a road to greatness. There's bumps, there's speed humps in that road, as ill-advised as they may be. There's potholes, and Michael, we need to get on those potholes, but we're going to have to dodge them and fix them as we come. No potholes.
That's because we couldn't afford the speed bumps.
That's correct, yeah. There are traffic lights on that road, and when it's red, you know, we're going to stop, and when it's green, we're going to go, but when it's yellow, we're going to blow through that sucker and take our chances. We may get stopped on the other side, we may get T-boned, but we're not going to pump the brakes, we're going to hit the gas. So with that, I'll leave you with the idea that the journey to great is a journey, and it's not a destination, and your staff and I are pleased to be on that journey, and we look forward to you joining it with us. Thank you for your comments today, and that's all we have. So if anybody else has anything, now would be a good time. Anyone? Mr. Mayor, anything from you?
Any other comments? We can adjourn the meeting.
Thank you very much, everyone.